Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kalaye Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam Ajnana Nashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam Yasya Smaranamatrena Jikvayam Vardate Swayam Mahamantrastam Bhajami Muralidhara Deshikam Premamritam Yo Murali Ninadaihi Shri Krishna Rupena Puravarsha Adyapi Soyam Muralidharakyo Pushnati Premna Bhuvanam Saharsham Kirtitetu Mahamantre Tatra Virbhuya Tatshanam Suprasanno Bhavedyastam Premika Varadam Bhaje Murali Mandita Karakamalam Munijana Mohanam Vyatyastapadam Vanamala Darinam Prema Bhakta Mandala Nitya Kirtitam Premika Varadam Ashrayeham Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanaha Tam Namami Harim Param Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki Jai. Greetings, friends. It's indeed a great pleasure to join you all in this session of Answers and Beyond. I offer my very humble prostrations to the holy feet of Guru Maharaj, His Holiness Maharanyam Sri Sri Muralidhara Swamiji, who is the inspiration and the guiding light for all of this. A very big thank you to Global Organization for Divinity New Zealand for all the effort. And I wish to especially thank every one of you for joining in, taking the time and effort, and sharing this with those that you feel will benefit from. The question that we will take up today is from a friend, New Zealand. This is how the question goes. I have generally been good to people as far as I know, yet I find that many sufferings come my way in life, and I cannot help but look at people that I know have not been as good, but they seem to be enjoying a better deal, a better life. How can I understand this? What is the explanation that Sanatana Dharma gives for this? A very nice question. Before we even go into the answer to this question, I would like to make one thing very clear. None of us want suffering, none of us wish for it. And trying to answer a question like this does not mean that in any way we justify suffering, because end of the day, what we pray for, we sincerely wish for, not just for us but for all life forms. People everywhere, is everybody is happy, everybody is peaceful, and we all have that joy in life. Let's make that very, very clear. But what we will try to do is try to find that answer, because this is reality. I wish every single day that I do not encounter suffering and sorrow in life. Yes, who would want to suffer? Who would want to be sad? But then it does come my way too. It's the fact of life. Life is a mixed bag, as they say. Joy and sorrow, there's happiness and sadness. it just keeps coming. The proportions may vary, the timing may vary, but it's a mixed bag always. And when that is reality, what we will try to do is find an answer to that. Yes, I've been a good person, as this friend says, as far as I know. Then why do I have to suffer? That's very simply. But whereas I do find there are other people who are not as good as I have been, at least to my knowledge, but they seem to be enjoying life more, while I seem to suffer. This is really the essence of this question. And the answer to this question, as far as Sanatana Dharma goes, as far as our Hindu scriptures goes, lies in the karma theory. I'm not going to go into that part of the discussion where we want to accept it or believe it or negate it. We are going to base this answer out of the tenets of Hinduism, of Sanatana Dharma, and exactly what has been said as per karma. That is a scope for another discussion. We are not going to get there. As far as this thing called as karma is concerned, I'm reminded of the story which Sri Swamiji narrated once in one of his satsangs. Everything that happens is meant to happen. That's the basis. There's nothing called as coincidence. Everything is an incident that was meant to happen and that has a reason why it's happening, is really what he would say. There's nothing called as coincidence in that sense. There was a guru, and this guru had many disciples. He was a self-realized master himself. He knew it all. That wisdom, that perfect wisdom was shining like the bright sun in him. He knew why a person came to him, and he knew where he was heading. He knew everything. That was the state of this Mahatma. And he had many disciples, and there was one particular disciple, his favorite. Favorite, why? Because he was one who truly imbibed the Upadeshas, the teachings. And he truly, in the opinion of the Guru, would be of great use to the world, to the people. He would serve them. Hence, he was his favorite. On one particular day, when that disciple came to offer his respects, as he would do every single morning, the Guru was about to bless him. He was about to say, "Long live." But something stopped him from saying so, like an inner command. It just wouldn't come out of him, because what comes from a Mahatma, a self-realized master, is the truth, or the other way around, truth is what will come out of them. Both are correct. The moment that happened, the Guru knew that that day was going to be the last day for that young man. He was going to die. He could see that, which is why that word did not come from his mouth. You may ask, and I may ask, out of my immaturity and ignorance, if the Mahatma knows everything, why should he be surprised? Would he not know that this is how long he would live? It is true. Some answers are beyond the reach of the intellect, but let's probably put it this way, that if wisdom, that jnana, is like the bright sun, love is like that dark cloud. It can even hide that sun. So that love, that prem for that disciple overtook that Mahatma. He felt, oh, he's going to die today. How I wish he lived longer. A lot of people would benefit from him. He would be of great use to the world. He would serve the community. And he made up his mind that he would do everything in his power to extend his lifespan, to make him live longer. He thought, what can I do now? What can I do now? Then it struck him that the only one who is responsible for this, who is going to take him away end of this day, when that time comes, is Yamadharmaraja, the god of death, the god of righteousness, dharma, because he is incorruptible. He does his duty, and when time has come, as dictated by one's karma, the actions of the past, the good and the bad, when that time has come, he would just come and take them away. There would be no sympathy there. Any amount of crying and screaming would not help. He would just do his work in an unbiased manner. It's not possible to influence him, and which is why he is called Dharmaraja. The Guru said, come with me, I'm going to take you to a particular place. And he is one who could go to any of the lokas, because he is a self-realized master. He said, I will go and talk to the Supreme Court. I will go to Yama's loka and tell him, spare him. He is of great use. He will be of great use. So the Mahatma, along with his disciple, went to Yamaloka. Yama was pleasantly surprised. He was very happy to receive this Mahatma. I guess every day he encounters crying and screaming people like myself. Such a surprise visit from a Mahatma, from a sage, one who has attained that jnana. He welcomed him with all due respect. He said, what can I do for you? I'm very happy to see you today. And then the Guru told Yama, look, this boy, he's a very lovely boy. Of course, if you were to give that certificate to him, I can only imagine. What can I do now? I'm able to see that today is the last day of his life on earth. Oh, is that so? And your messengers will be picking him up before the end of this day. I want this to be changed, this destiny or fate or pre-written conclusion. I want this to be altered, which is why I have come to you. You should change it for me. Take my word for it. I don't ask this out of any personal bias or binding. I say this truly because I believe that he will be useful if he lives longer. Not just to me, but to everybody. Yamadharmaraja said, why would I not do it for you? I'm here to serve you. If you say something, you are a self-realized master. To me, you are God. I will simply obey. But this is how it works. I am not personally sitting here deciding who's on the list today. That's not how it works. There's this big chamber, like a locker room. Nobody can really go in there except myself. And in that locker room, there's like millions and millions and millions of lockers. And in each locker, there is a file. It's basically a track record of that particular life form. Continuous track record through every single birth. It has recorded the pluses and minuses, the good things he did and the bad things he did. Karma, a record of karma. It's all kept there, and depending on how his track record is, his life goes, and when it's time for him to leave this body and then take another birth, we come to pick him up. The name shows up on the list at that time and we just come and do the job. My messengers do the job. This is how it works. It's not as if we go and meddle with that list at all. This is where it's all kept. And the Guru said, so if the file is changed, the contents of the file are altered, would you be able to extend his life? For some more years maybe? Would you be able to do it? Yamadharmaraja said, you are the wise one. Whatever you say, I will obey. So let's go and look at his file. So Yamadharmaraja, the guru and the disciple went into that chamber. Yamadharmaraja let them in. It was mind-boggling to see the number of lockers there, as you can imagine. And then finally they located this boy's locker, opened it. The guru was quite happy because he thought, we made it on time. If we can now just make a few changes here, his life does not have to end today after all. And so they picked the file. Yamadharmaraja opened it, came to that page, today's date, to see what was written, and it could be changed. Let's say, if he was going to be bitten by a snake, change that. If he was going to have some sort of a health condition, change that. If he was going to meet with an accident, change that. And then he's going to escape death. That was the idea. That was the thought process. Like I said, the cloud called love hid the sun called as wisdom, as far as the Mahatma is concerned. Of course he knows, isn't it? But still he didn't want to give up because the disciple was so dear. So they read it out loud in unison, Yamadharmaraja and the Guru, while the disciple was watching. It was said, on this day, at this hour, this minute, this particular second, Yamadharmaraja, the Guru, and this boy would come to this chamber, open the locker and read the file, and at exactly that moment, he will die. And the boy died. Swamiji narrated the story once to say that everything that you do to escape, in a bid to escape karma, destiny, would actually lead us right there. That's how it works. It's eventually what happens. That's really what we say, as this is meant to be. That's how it works. Is it fair? It's a question that comes to me. Is it fair? Mahatmas, our scriptures, Swamiji would say that it cannot be more fair. This truly represents being fair. I will give you an example that we can all connect to in the contemporary world. Let's say a person is working in a multinational company. It's there in many different countries across several continents. This man works in a particular country in his tiny little office, in his building. He has never really seen the top man of the company. He has never seen him, the top boss. He knows that there is a top boss, but he has never really seen him. Everything happens to him based on a certain scoring system, isn't it? Let's for a moment assume that there is no bias there, because when human beings are there would be bias. Let's eliminate that. Let's look at it from the point of view of this example. Let's say that it's a very fair system. That is a scoring system. If he performs well, he gets a +5. If he does not, he gets a -5. And depending on how his scores are, end of the year, he either gets recognized as, say, the employee of the month or the employee of the year. He gets his nice plaque that says achiever of the year, which he proudly displays. Or if he were not doing well, it's not going to be a very favorable score for him. He may find himself on the bench, or maybe he would lose his job at some point of time if people have to be sent home. So how does all of this happen? It works on the basis of an assessment system, isn't it? It's not as if the top boss is personally meddling with the records of each person, but he has defined standards to define the scores, and the evaluation is done on the basis of that. That's how it works. And there's lots of mechanisms to ensure that the system does not get corrupted. It does, because it's us human beings after all. But let me assume that it is a perfect system that cannot be corrupted. Even in this world we understand how this works, isn't it? This is exactly how this system called as karma has been placed by God. Out of sheer compassion, it's His greatness. He does not sit and micromanage every one of us. The scriptures that are His very breath, that have been bestowed by Him, clearly list out which are the good ones, the punyas, and which are the bad ones, the sins. Do this, do this, do this. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. If you do this, this is what you get. If you do something that you're not supposed to do, this is what you get. It's very clearly defined and it's laid out for me to understand and do based on what I feel is the right choice. God does not sit and poke His finger at every one of our files. Does not do that. It's His greatness, isn't it? I may ask, say when I do something good, how come I don't get a reward here? Is God blind? When I'm looking for an instant reward, the reward will definitely come. It probably is with me already and I don't see it that way. But I will ask, I've not been rewarded for the good that I have. Should I not be rewarded? But what I failed to keep in mind at that time is, if that reward were to be given instantaneously when I do good, the opposite will also happen. Am I ready for it? This is what Swamiji would ask. When I do something wrong, the punishment will also be instantaneous. Swamiji would say in a very light sense, let's look at it that way, that we often say, isn't it, when somebody does something wrong, we say that he should be punished instantly if God is watching. If somebody does wrong with a particular part of the body, that part of the body should be punished. We've heard people say such things, isn't it? Swamiji would say that God never does that. Because if He were to do it, it will be a matter of very little time before every one of us will be like potatoes. Because it's just a matter of time before we commit some error with our senses and body. That's not how it works at all. God is very patient. He allows us that time. He gives us a very long leash. He gives us that time to understand and retrace our path back to the righteousness. And it is when I go beyond redemption, that is when I also need to face the heat. It's a very beautiful system. He is very patient, very compassionate. He allows us that space. That's how it works. Imagine the situation. Let's say there was a very powerful magician, a mantravati, who could do amazing things. If he casts a spell on a particular person, trouble would befall him. Like, say, if he were friends with me and he would do anything for me, I did not like another person, and I say that I want that person to fall down and get hurt, he would actually be able to do it by casting a spell. I'm just saying hypothetically. Let's say that I'm friends with a person like that. It feels good, isn't it, when I have somebody like that with me? I feel very strong and powerful because if I want to get my revenge, I know how to do it. He will do it for me. But does it end there, friends? It does not. Because if one day in my life I have a fallout with this magician, the mantravadi, what will happen after that? We don't get along. For some reason he gets upset with me and I'm unable to bring our friendship back to where it was. What would happen after that? Will I not end up living every single moment of the rest of my life in fear? Because I know what he's capable of. I've seen it myself. Will I not live in that fear that he would do the same thing to me? Because he's powerful. And he's capable of doing all of those things. even if he does not do anything to me after that, every time a suffering comes my way, will I not attribute it to him? Maybe it's he who's doing this. Will it not be such a painful life to lead after that? That's exactly why Swamiji would say that God is very compassionate. If this is the case, even for a mantravadi, a magician, imagine God. The most powerful. Everything is at his disposal. If he were to do things to me that are good to me, if I also act favorably, and if he takes a stand that he will hurt me or make me feel the pain if I do things that he does not like I deny his existence, I abuse him, or I do something that he does not like, how long will it take for him to strike me down with a bolt of lightning? It does not happen that way. In fact, have we not known those that openly abuse God and yet lead as comfortable as a life? Because God does not look at it that way. They are also his children. Whether they accept it or not, whether we recognize it or not. He does not take a stand like that at all, which is why, bringing it back to the system of karma, he has given a scoring system and he has left it at that. So you do this, this is what you get. As you sow, so you reap, as they say. He does not meddle with the system at all. And he stays away from all of this. So is he responsible for this? Of course he is responsible for this because the system is his. But is he responsible for this? At a micro level, no, he is not, because he allows me to decide. And that's how it goes. That's how this journey called life and death keeps going. This is the cycle that's endless. And this is exactly how karma works. And there's another important thing to bear in mind. As far as this system is concerned, the plus and the minus, if we just say that the punya is plus, good deeds plus, sins, papa, minus, the plus and minus will never cancel each other. It's a fact, isn't it? Because if that were the case, there'll be some people or some of us whose life will entirely be happy, because if I had a 100 plus and a 50 minus, 100 minus 50, 50 plus, so my whole life will be happiness. Whereas if my score was 100 minus and a 50 plus, I'm a minus 50 and my whole life from beginning to end will be sad, 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 sad. But it's never like that, isn't it? Life is always a mixed bag. Can anybody deny that? I don't think so. There are things that happen that we enjoy, there are moments that we wish to forget, we regret. It's always a mixed bag, which is the simplest and most logical proof of the fact that the plus and minus do not cancel each other. For every plus, I experience that happiness, and for every minus, I experience the suffering. That is how karma works. That is why life is a mixed bag. But often, I find myself in this position where when good things happen to me, I'm connecting this back to the question, the original question. When good things happen to me, I don't ask why me. There definitely have been good times in all our lives. I don't ask that. But it's when bad things happen to me and good things happen to others, I ask why me? Why me? I'm not looking at it with that sense of fairness, isn't it? That is really what Mahatmas and our scriptures say. Because this account of our punyam and papam, the plus and the minus, the karma, is a perfect account. It is very unbiased. I can complain about it, I can cry about it, I can debate, but it is unbiased. This is what our scriptures say, and it gets transferred only to me, whichever birth I take, wherever I am born, whoever I am. birth after birth, it keeps getting transferred to me. So this is what they say as a solution, because we have to come to that part. Accept it. Just bow down and accept it. Is the word of advice that the Mahatmas, the Gurus and the scriptures give us. When good things happen, tell yourself that I must have done something good before. I'm unable to see it, but that has to be the fact. So it has come back to me. And when bad things happen, tell yourself that I must have done something. I have to face the heat now. And just bow down and accept it. And it goes away, is what they say. When good things happen, while I accept it as I have done good, and hence I am enjoying it now, let me do more good. Let that be my attitude, because I will enjoy the benefit later. And when bad things happen to me, and when I accept that I must have done something, let that also inspire me to do good, because the bad that I've done before is what is making me suffer. So let me not do that again. I will do good now. Even though I'm suffering, let me do good now, because it's a matter of time before things will turn around. This is the right attitude to possess, is how our scriptures guide us. And I will give you another way to look at it. We say, why do good people suffer? When such suffering comes our way, do you know how the Mahatmas, the Guru, trains us to look at? First, suffering is not good. You don't support suffering. I made that clear already, but this is what they say. Get done with it. It's what you have done that has come to you. Get done with it and go for the permanent solution. And what is that permanent solution? That permanent solution is liberation from this cycle, this endless cycle of births and deaths. That permanent solution is God realization. Call it by any name, mukti, moksham. Go towards that permanent solution. Let that suffering inspire every one of us to go towards that, is what they tell us. It's simple as this. They say that if a person were to enter into, say, a business, it's inevitable that he would have to encounter gains and losses. It's never going to be a one-way street. There would be gain, which means there would also be a loss. It's never going to be just one way. The one that would not face gain or a loss is the one that does not enter that business at all. Which is why they say that good things that come our way, bow down and accept it. I must have done good things before. It's the will of God. I'm experiencing it. Fine. And when the unfavorable moments come, bow down and accept it. This is also the will of God or the Guru. I must have done something. It's happening to me. But let me go out of this circuit once and for all and liberate myself. This is the ideal solution that is given to point us towards that perfect solution. That is what suffering does. As Swamiji would put very beautifully in Kalidharma Undiyar, he would say, Dukkam varuvadum iraivan arulale virakti valarave undipara varadayin veeneye trundipara. He would say that if we have the maturity to look at suffering, dukkham, in the right manner, understand in a way that this is the greatest blessing that has come your way from God, because it would make you to go towards Him, towards the perfect solution. It's like how we say in the word, sometimes it's the obstacle that came in the way of a person that actually catapulted them towards greatness. The same thing. The suffering is what will lead us to the solution, the permanent solution. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki Jai. Thank you very much.